A real big story coming out of Miami. Wow. So I'll be at the federal courthouse in Tallahassee Monday. That is when Lynn Haven Mayor Margot Anderson faces her sentencing hearing. And so I will be reporting live from there. Lots of stuff happening, though, as we have learned from the Lynn Haven corruption case. And as I've been reporting here in Bay County, Panama City Beach, gosh, one of my first stories ever when I started doing the radio show in 2007. One of the very first stories that ever got my attention locally was a couple who bought a house, sort of a fixer-upper house in Panama City, and code enforcement hit them with, if I remember right, it was like a $270,000 fine for trimming their popcorn trees. It was an unbelievable story. But the point I'm making is right away, the abuse of code enforcement. I've seen it in Panama City Beach. I really worry it's going to pick up quite a bit in Lynn Haven. I've seen it in Callaway. It's just incredible. And we've seen how the vulgar and vindictive police chief, Ricky Ramey in Lynn Haven, has used the police against ladies who upset his bro at the time, city manager Michael White, with that terrible arrest. So anyway, we've seen these kinds of things happen and nobody pays a price, it seems. Well, in Miami, somebody did. The most powerful local politician over there, the mayor, Joe Corojo, just lost a gigantic civil lawsuit. I mean, the trial lasted for like 2 months. They took I think a 2-week break, but holy smokes, the jury awarded $65 million almost to the two businessmen, the Little Havana businessmen, who said that in 2017, we supported his political rival and he weaponized the police and code enforcement against our businesses. There's a lot to this. I'm going to show you some video. I'm going to tell you it's a fascinating story about this bully of a mayor. He's a commissioner, rather. I'm sorry. He's a commissioner. He used to be the mayor. Oh, what a story. He used to be the mayor beginning in 1996. And his career has been just unbelievable. I'll tell you all about it. And I'll tell you how it might tie in to local politics too, right after this. It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirRepair.com. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right, I want to show you today's news story about this first. Yeah, let's do that. So this was today.
Guilty verdict for City Commissioner Joe Corojo. Earlier today, a jury found him guilty of violating the First Amendment rights of two men who operate a string of businesses in Little Havana. The business owners accused Corojo of orchestrating a vendetta against them because they supported a rival candidate for public office.
As the federal lawsuit came to a close, jurors ordered Corojo to pay more than $63 million in damages. CBS News Miami's Ted Scouten reports.
And once and for all, it feels great to finally smush that cucaracha. Little Havana businessman Bill Fuller letting loose after a 5-year battle with Miami City Commissioner Joe Corojo. After a 7-week trial, the jury found Corojo violated Fuller and business partner Martin Panilla's right to free speech. The jury awarded $63 million in damages.
Not only was he a bully, but he was also a coward.
The pair owned businesses in Little Havana, including the iconic ball and chain. Fuller going on to say he felt vindicated.
When these people try to rise, you need to stop them. You need to fight back. That's what our U.S. Constitution allows us to do, and that's what Martin and I did.
Padilla said the jury is sending a strong message defending freedom of speech.
Joe Carollo, what he has done to us, to our businesses, to our employees, is wrong, and he does not deserve to be an elected official.
The judge has an order. I cannot speak, please. I'll be happy to once he lifts it.
Carollo initially not commenting because of a gag order that was in effect at the time. Later, his legal team released a statement saying, in part, "We are disappointed with the result. Commissioner Carollo will seek to exercise all legal rights available to him, including appellate review." Unlike the plaintiffs, who seem to have now resorted to disparaging comments about the commissioner and City of Miami employees, the commissioner will continue to serve all citizens of District 3 and the City of Miami fairly and equally. We asked Miami City Attorney who's on the hook for that $63 million verdict. She did not address that. We spoke to Attorney David Weinstein, a former state and federal prosecutor who was not involved in this case, about who has to pay.
As for the damages, that's on the commissioner because the jury found that he acted outside the scope of his authority.
The plaintiffs in this case saying this was never about the money, it's about the principle and defending the right to free speech. Meanwhile, Carollo once again saying he is going to appeal. In Fort Lauderdale.
All right. So this was a federal lawsuit. It's called a 1983 Act. Whenever the government violates your civil rights, your constitutional rights. This was a First Amendment retaliation lawsuit. So in other words, they said because we supported his political rival in 2017, because of our speech, our support, he weaponized code enforcement and the police and tried to, hurt our businesses. And a jury, I believe even in a civil, in a federal case, I believe it's a jury of 6, and you don't need all 6 in a civil case. You just need a preponderance. You just need a majority. So 4 will do it, and they did. Guess who was paying for the defense, for the legal defense of Commissioner Joe Carollo? Carollo, I guess, is how that's the best way this gringo is going to pronounce it. They pronounce it better on the news down in Miami. But guess who's paying? The city, the taxpayers. They're not sure exactly how much, but the estimates are $2 million. The estimates are $2 million. And he had 4 law firms. The city paid for 4 law firms. There was also punitive damages. Let me tell you about this guy, Joe Carollo. He became the mayor in 1997, and he served one term, 96 to 97, rather, a 2-year term. And when he ran for re-election, it ended up being a runoff. Kind of like in Panama City, where Doc Rowan won. It was a runoff. And the guy who won, this is an amazing story. The guy who won's name is Javier Suarez. All right, so Javier Suarez beats Joe Carollo back in 98. But Carollo said that there was ballot fraud. Alleged ballot fraud in the runoff election in 1998. And this is when we actually had newspapers and news outlets. And the Miami Herald said, there's no evidence of that. No evidence anywhere. No, they didn't say that. The Miami Herald, actually looked into it. And guess what they found in their investigation? They found that not only the guy who defeated Joe Carollo, but another commissioner, their campaigns The campaign workers were, are you ready for this? They were registering voters where they didn't live. They were punching ballots for voters without permission. They were signing absentee ballots as witnesses that they didn't witness, including dead people. That is what the Miami Herald found in 1998. So the governor at the time, not Charles Lawton, that's the actor. It was Governor Lawton, right? Walkin' Lawton. What was his first name, if any of you can tell me? I wasn't here. But he removed the commissioner who won. And then as a result, this guy, Joe Carollo, he filed a lawsuit and won and was sworn back in after the ballot fraud in 1998. And so he's been now, then he went away and did some other stuff. But since 2017, he has been on the commission. And he was ticked off when he found out that these two little Havana businessmen by the names of Bill Fuller and Martin Pania, they held a rally for his campaign opponent. And so when he was reelected, he sicked code enforcement and the police on those two businessmen for what it really was a First Amendment retaliation using his office and the power of government for vindictive purposes. It is a good thing, at least in Bay County, we don't have any of that, isn't it? You know, there are civil lawsuits happening. The sheriff's office is being sued. There's a whistleblower lawsuit by a former deputy. And Marie Maddox is the attorney. If there's any there, the discovery is going to be super interesting. There's a lawsuit against the city of Lynn Haven by Alan Bird, the contractor. That is bringing incredible discovery about how the county and the cities were conspiring with the late Derwin White GAC contractors to inflate the price of hurricane cleanup and to extend the amount of time so they could line their pockets with FEMA money. That not only is in Alan Bird's civil lawsuit against the city of Lynn Haven that's underway, but it was also evidence in the Lynn Haven corruption criminal case. There are other lawsuits as well. And there will be more to follow, I believe. As a matter of fact, Federal Judge Mark Walker, in the evidentiary hearing back in December for James Finch, it was unbelievable. Lynn Haven city manager Vicki Gaynor took the witness stand and swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And she admitted to telling the city contracted engineer Chris Forehand, Panhandle Engineering, that it would be a good idea, because remember, the city of Lynn Haven gives him work, hires Panhandle Engineering. But she told Chris Forehand that it would be a good idea if they didn't do any private work with Phoenix Construction James Finch. The implication, of course, being if you want a job here, you're not going to do business outside of here with that so-and-so, James Finch. Vicki Gaynor, the city manager, doesn't like James Finch and has told a bunch of lies about him. One of the most incredible ones that she told, under oath, I was there, I saw it. During the trial, the jurors, I believe it was during the trial, it might have been just the evidentiary hearing. I think it was just the evidentiary hearing in December. Just You're a witness in a federal case, criminal case. You're under oath to Chief Judge Mark Walker, federal judge, in December only. And in it, she said that Mayor Margo Anderson and former Commissioner Judy Tinder, she was talking about them and their relationship with Finch. And she said under oath that before Margo Anderson, Mayor Anderson was arrested and Finch were indicted, Vicki Gaynor told the judge that Judy Tinder always voted against Finch. And it was only later when they became good friends that she's always for him. The defense attorney, Finch's attorney, tested that theory and pulled up all the votes. Guess how many times Judy Tinder voted against Finch before Anderson was indicted? That many times. Guess who calls for the votes? Vicki Gaynor. Guess who logs the votes? Vicki Gaynor. Guess who writes the agendas? Vicki Gaynor. If anybody should know, it's her. And so when they showed her that what she said was not true, she said, well, geez, I guess I was just mistaken. Kind of like all the other things she says under oath. Just mistaken. Could happen to anybody, especially the person who, calls the votes, logs the votes, writes the agenda, is at all the meetings. It could happen to anybody. So she said under oath that she told Chris Forehand, don't be doing business with James Finch on your own time. I don't like him. And if you want to keep doing business, and Judge Walker was surprised. He said something about, so what you're saying is she used her position to prevent Finch from getting business that he was entitled to. That sounds a lot like using government to attack a business which is outside your scope of power and authority. I mean, all I'm saying is I can see some of these lawsuits that are brewing happening around here. And one thing about Joe Carollo, the commissioner who lost the $64 million lawsuit today, is he believed that he was untouchable. He believed he was untouchable. I want to make sure I get something right. I'm going to look something up real quick. So in the late 70s, you some of you may remember when there was the Cold War, okay, and in Nicaragua, they had a strongman by the name of Somoza. And in Nicaragua, Somoza was being challenged by these communist insurgents called the Sandinistas. All right. And they were just little skirmishes, little propaganda campaigns. And Somoza was a strongman, iron-fisted, authoritarian dictator of Nicaragua. And he felt untouchable. He didn't give a damn about these stupid Sandinistas. But I know somebody, Gary O'Neill, who authored the book American Warrior. He's in the Green Beret Hall of Fame, Gary O'Neill. He, at the time, Jimmy Carter had sent some Americans down there to sort of work with Somoza, not really repel the Sandinistas, but be there. And they were telling Somoza, you got to be careful because they're starting to get little victories. And these little political victories can turn into a lot more. And you should take it seriously. Well, Somoza did not take it seriously. He thought he was untouchable. And what ended up happening is they ran Somoza out of there. They ran Somoza out of Nicaragua. And it's that mindset that I'm too powerful and untouchable and entrenched and I've got protection that nothing can ever happen from these little Sandinistas. Well, over time, all the vibrations, all the rumblings began to crack the foundations under Somoza, just like they did to Joe Carollo. And pretty soon, well, not pretty soon, took a little while, but the center couldn't hold and it collapsed. Now, back to the Miami commissioner, Joe Carollo. He has that same mindset. And I know a bunch of powerful people in Bay County who also have that mindset. Oh, sure, there are some vibrations. Lately, there's even been a few elections that have gone wrong. It's kind of a big deal. But, you know, we're untouchable. We've got protection. Now, often that protection is only a snapshot in time. And I hope that's the case here, because I would like honest government. I would like honest law enforcement. I would like honest prosecutors. I would like honest oversight. I would like honest journalism, any journalism that's real. Because as I like to say, the extent of public corruption is the extent to which there's no reporting of it. When the news outlets are public-private partners with the local governments, you don't get the information. I was talking with somebody today, and she said that a friend of hers who lives here, she said, you know, you say all of these things about corruption in local government or dishonesty in local government, but how come I only hear that from you? Like, it's hard to, the news isn't, you know, it sort of seems like you don't like them. When the news outlets are not telling the people what's going on in the community, when they're only reading press releases for the government officials, that's what happens. You get decent people who care, but they just, you know, they don't get the information. And that's one reason I'm most angry at my own craft, at the reporters, at the journalists. It's hard. It's really difficult. But the vibrations and the time that passes, that can catch up with big corruption, and it did in this case. Now, I think, and somebody made a point about this on Facebook, the post before this today, that the commissioner, if he weaponized code enforcement and the police against the businessmen who he didn't like because they were political enemies, he deserves more than a $64 million civil law judgment against him. He deserves to go to jail. And there are a lot of public officials who deserve to go to jail. Locally, our sheriff knows this. The FBI knows this. I know they do. And that would be preferable. But as long as they're in on it, civil lawsuits seem like a pretty damn good idea. It's incredible how much information can be found through subpoenas. So now, this Miami commissioner who was hit with this judgment today, this is important for you to understand. He certainly will appeal it. And this is the important thing. If the appellate court upholds it, it becomes case law, precedent. If the appellate court overturns it, well, we're back where we started. So it'll be interesting to watch this. I'll tell you what, the Miami editorial board wrote something I want to share with you. How much would you love to see something like this come out locally? Oh, this is good stuff. After 40 years, Miami's biggest bully is finally held accountable. Let's take a look at this story. There he is. There he is. That's the guy. That's the city commissioner who the jury said weaponized code enforcement and the police against two Little Havana businessmen, Bill Fuller and Martin Padilla, because they supported his political rival. And that was too much to tolerate. So you got to attack their businesses. Boy, this is good stuff. Could be better. Could be in jail. I know. But geez, at some point you can all you can do is all you can do. And I'm excited to see a story like this. And I want to see a hell of a lot more stories like this. Don't you? This is the editorial board talking about him. Commissioner Joe Carollo's antics have finally caught up with him after 40 years in Miami politics. And it came with a big price tag, $63.5 million, that a jury ordered him to pay two businessmen who accused him of retaliation in federal court. The 6-member Broward County jury today found that Carollo is liable for violating the plaintiff's First Amendment rights. This is an overdue reckoning for a commissioner who has acted as if he's beholden to no one, at least of all Miami residents, and above any norms of decorum and decency. Carollo's demeanor and vindictiveness sound familiar? Have for too long hijacked the smooth running of Miami City Commission, making some other elected officials and civil servants afraid to cross him. Look, people need to stop being afraid. But Bernie, it comes at a cost. No shit. I know it does. If anybody knows, I know. Some people know more than I do. They've suffered even more. A lot more. Little Havana business owners William Fuller, Bill Fuller, and Martin Padilla argued Carollo had weaponized the city's code enforcement against them after they exercised their free speech rights by holding a rally for his 2017 political opponent, Alfie Leon. Lawyers representing the businessmen painted a damning picture of a slighted politician so vindictive and fixated on ruining the livelihoods that he went to great lengths to shut down their businesses and those of their associates. The trial dragged on for nearly 2 months, and it showed Carollo was relentless. The commissioner was fixated on destroying these people. Former Miami police chiefs. See, this is what I'm excited about. I'm excited about lawsuits around here where people are deposed under oath and have to tell the truth. You say, Bernie, some people lie under oath. I understand. But sometimes they don't. And sometimes other evidence proves the point as well. But former police chiefs testified that they were pressured. Are there any law enforcement officers in Bay County who have been pressured, who have been told to do things that they know violates the rights of the people? Or worse, they were pressured to target these two businessmen. Former Assistant Police Chief Richard Blom testified that as Commissioner Carollo's chief of staff, he was ordered to get out of a car and measure the distance from the front door of one of the businessmen's properties to a neighboring church in hopes that the city could pull the club's liquor license. You see how petty they can be? In her closing remarks on yesterday, the plaintiff's attorney, Courtney Caprio, described what how the city conducted dozens of code inspections over consecutive days at the businessman's historic nightclub, Ball and Chain, which closed for nearly a year. She reminded jurors of the testimony of the owner of a valet service that operated the nightclub, who said that Commissioner Carollo told him, "I am the law." What is he, Sheriff Buford T. Justice? Boy, I am the law. His business, too, saw 36 inspections in 1 month, the business owner, and it was eventually shut down. The owner of a sandwich shop who rented a property from the businessman also testified about becoming collateral damage of Commissioner Carollo's revenge ploy. She described getting pushback from the city and being the target of several code enforcement raids, despite operating like other businesses. When sandwich owner Rosa Morales tried to address the issue directly with Commissioner Carollo, she said that he dismissed her. What? It's a good thing that mayors and commissioners and council members in Bay County don't just dismiss little old ladies like that. You haven't seen anything like that around here, have you? Telling her not to let the door hit her on the way out. Now, Commissioner Carollo was not only allegedly doing all this while working for taxpayers, his legal defense is also being bankrolled by the public. The Miami Herald reported that his legal bills were close to $2 million even before the trial began in April. It was a 2-month trial. I bet his legal bill, the city hired 4 legal firms to defend him. I bet you it's up to $3 million. The city hasn't said whether it would also be on the hook for paying the damages to the plaintiffs. Commissioner Carollo is all but sure to appeal the case, making this saga longer and more expensive. This is the cost of finally bringing accountability to Miami's most controversial politician. Now, I wish that I would have opened the paper and, there was more accountability. But we get what we can get. And I see a story like that and I think, oof, I've seen that kind of stuff around here. I've seen that kind of untouchable attitude around here, that kind of protection from the highest federal level. But again, like Somoza learned in Nicaragua, you're not always untouchable. You might be untouchable for a while. That's it. No. You might be untouchable but everything's a snapshot in time in life. Everything's a snapshot in time. And sometimes if there are people who are committed and devoted and tenacious and don't know how to quit until the truth will have its day, things like this happen. So where does it stand now? Well, the 2 businessmen can celebrate tonight after a long civil trial. Holy smokes, almost 2 months. But it's not over, because when Commissioner Carollo appeals to the appellate court, if it's overturned, well, hell. If it's upheld, however, it becomes case law. It becomes precedent. It becomes a lot of the factors inside of it become precedent, become governing legal. I don't know the word I'm searching for. What do you mean, bury the attorney? How can you not know the word? Oh boy. It'll be interesting. I hope it's a quick appeal. And I wonder if it is, and if it comes back upheld, I wonder if it would impact the civil lawsuits around here. Won't that be interesting? All right. I just wanted to share that story with you. It was a big story, a long one, a fascinating story from the get-go. This would be a good little docudrama, don't you think? All right. I just want to thank those of you who allow me to do this. And before I tell you just a little bit more.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
Is your past ruining your future? Having your record sealed or expunged wipes the slate clean, providing you with a new opportunity in life. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 215-0628.
And also, of course, thank you to the Unknown Patriot for your support, helping me to bring the truth and the stories that you don't see on WMBB, that's for sure, or the News Herald or WJHG. You know, the ones who exist to tell you the story. This might be on there. So Monday's a big day, and I'm finding out that there are going to be more big days next week. There are things happening, things developing, but Monday I'll be in Tallahassee reporting on the sentencing of Lynn Haven Mayor Margo Anderson, even though they dropped all 64 charges against her. She still pled guilty to a misstatement, and this is how it's worded, to the federal government. They said, "Didn't you say that you met Mickey White in December of 2018? Yeah. It was really October, wasn't it? Sign this and say it's October, and we'll drop everything." So the recommendation, the guidelines are 0 days in prison to 6 months. When I saw Judge Walker explain it, he said that he would decide, and part of the factors would be prior record, which of course Mayor Anderson has no prior record. Before Sheriff Ford and the Public Trust Unit got a hold of her, before the late Derwin White planted evidence against her, before they lied and said that James Finch gave her a motorhome. Showed that on loop for 100 times plus. So we'll see. And also the judge said, depending on the severity of the crime, and the only crime is, okay, I met him in October 2018, not December. That's it. That's the whole thing. There's nothing else. So I'll be reporting on that because there's no cameras in the federal courtroom. So the only way to find out what happens and see it is to be there. And I'll do that for you. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate it, and I will see you soon.